First of all, thank you, Arun, for giving me this opportunity to attend the second edition as far as I'm concerned. Although you are on the fifth one, the first one which I attended was in 2022, and now this is is the second one. Last time also I had spoken about the advanced techniques in manufacturing, and today I'm touching the subject which is very, very dear to most of the manufacturers, is migration on various generations of technology, and people have been talking about this for a long time, Industry 4.0, but then these days we are speaking about Industry 5.0. Now, what is the genesis of all this on manufacturing? If I may recall, now practically I'm clocking 50 years as far as professionalism is concerned. So when I started my professional career in manufacturing in a diesel engine plant, 1978 to be precise, at that time we virtually had everything manual. And we used to achieve certain targets based on the human efficiency rather than the machine efficiency, or for that matter on the processes, on number of hours and things like that. So it was a sort of a manual mechanical integration which was there. At that time the requirements were also not to that extent the way we have it today. We had an ecosystem which was restricted to maybe India as such. We were not there on the global map. Although we were there, we were not there predominantly. Nobody recognized India as a manufacturing hub. And to tell you frankly, at that time, this need was not felt. And it went on for a number of years till we were struck with COVID. In COVID, many things changed. And one of such things which changed was manufacturing and the inputs required for manufacturing to improve productivity. And this is where I have been talking about Industry 4.0 or migrating to Industry 4.0 for the last 8 to 10 years. But there were hardly any takers. Meaning in those couple of years, I was doing it as an sort of an advisor to companies in improving their productivity or manufacturing. So virtually I had no stakes, therefore I could not implement those decisions. But then unfortunate part, COVID happened. And then we realized that the labor suddenly disappeared, and production, forget about the productivity part of it, the production suffered. And in those situations, people realized that had they migrated to Industry 4.0, at least they could have salvaged a little bit, because machines would have performed certain jobs which otherwise labor were doing it, semi-skilled, skilled, or whatever it is. But as COVID struck, thereafter people were rushing on their agenda on development of processes, on development of generations of manufacturing, and that is where Industry 4.0 really took off. So I would say that there were people, if I don't want to get into the numbers or percentages, but then there were people who were already doing it, but then the number of people or number of companies migrating to Industry 4.0 really started taking its pace after COVID. The second aspect which was there was we were basically an inward-looking society. We were never an outward-looking society. When we say inward-looking, we were very, very satisfied. At least if I talk about Pune, if I get business from Telco or Bajaj, I was okay with that. But today, I don't think that is the kind of a mindset that we have it. So we started looking outwards. Basically, people pushed us to look at the global marketplace as something which everyone should look at. And that is where, when global perspective comes into picture, every manufacturer had to think about not only productivity, but scalability, and scalability with the adequate amount of quality and reliability, because the terms of sale also went up in the automotive. We as a buyer are asking for 5 years or 5,000 kilometers as a warranty. So naturally, when we are requiring those many numbers with that kind of a warranty, everyone is looking at the process. So when we do not sell in marketing, I always used to say that look in manufacturing. So never people understood. Once we started looking into manufacturing, marketing started having very, very easy access into the marketplace because we started delivering those products to the requirements of the customers. So when we came to know that we in India as manufacturers can certainly sustain global demand or can look at global demand, and the manufacturing went up like that, because I've seen all these generations happening and I have seen the way people have treated us globally. Because I operate a global network in 16 countries for demands and products and services. So I know how people used to treat me earlier, 20 years ago, and how today we get red carpets. Meaning, after China plus one, again, things went up quite drastically as far as manufacturing and locations are concerned. So very recently, last year, I spoke in Vietnam about China plus one strategy and why people should look at India as a manufacturing hub. Because I thought that I had a recipe here in Indian manufacturing ecosystem where we could project India as a manufacturing hub. And today we can absorb any kind of RFQ coming from wherever and deliver. Not only on design development, but also on manufacturing. I was discussing with a couple of our colleagues here. Yes, there are areas where we cannot compete with China. Like, for example, semiconductors, where the investments required are very, very, very high. But then the government has proactively supported 3 big ventures. And last month itself, there are 3 ventures which have been signed. And we would like to be totally captive, or for that matter, self-reliant as far as semiconductor manufacturing is concerned. And which is where I think it takes us in a sort of a leapfrog jump that we are taking as far as manufacturing is concerned. So, Make in India initiative, which started in 2014, really taught us on making it in India and selling anywhere. But at that time, the IP part of it was not included in that. And when the policy of Atmanirbhar was announced, at that time, we started looking at even the designs part of it. So maybe earlier we were doing the collaborations with multinationals, but then we were taking their IP product and then inducting into our system and then making it in India. But today, we are trying to dilute even that IP which was coming from outside, and we are trying to create our own IP so that we become completely Atmanirbhar. How did this come about? This came about because of the complete geopolitical system which is in mess. Today, nobody knows which country is loyal to whom. And if at all we want to go in that economy scale, which our government has been all along saying that we are in the first 5, we would like to be in the first 3, etc. So the dependency on someone else will certainly kill our prospects of getting into that 3rd place or achieving that $5 trillion or $10 trillion economy. Now, having said all these factors, if you really look at them, that China's involvement or whatever you may say, that people have been blaming them for the COVID debacle, but then there are countries who have taken principled decision that they won't look at China as a source of manufacturing, which otherwise virtually the manufacturing basis from Europe and America had virtually shifted to China. Meaning I visited Chinese companies several times. I know for sure we are 20 years behind them as far as manufacturing is concerned, but then certainly in those conditions we were 20 years behind. But if we really make an effort, proactive effort, I think we'll catch up with them in another 5 to 10 years time. But we still will require those 10 years. Let me remind you, because what they did was a pioneering activity, and nobody can really scale up the operations the way they did it. And there was a single-minded commitment on the workforce, on the companies, on the government, and the policies were framed like that, so that happened. But then today, I think we have a similar proactive government, policies, strategies, companies, workforce, and also the demand. So everything is very, very positive and in place. So what prevents us from getting into that mold is something which is very, very important. And having understood this particular background, then naturally we are trying to look at every avenue, whether it is sustainability, whether it is productivity, whether it is scalability, or whether it is global perspective or outward-looking markets. We want to reach global. Everyone is traveling. So many people are, whenever we are asking for such seminars, I was trying to find some people for honoring as a chief guest and things like that. Most of the people are traveling. And why they are traveling? Not for fun. They're traveling because people have been inviting them to do collaborations. People have been inviting them to do business. And I'm no exception in that. At this age also, I have to travel roughly around 120, 130 days overseas. Go around the world because they require us. And we have to give it. Now, once we realize that we have to give it, how do we give it? We cannot be having a status quo, or for that matter, a position where we do not want to change. We cannot be satisfied on what we are doing. So in Japanese, we always say there is a kaizen, that incremental learning has got to be there. So today, whatever we are there, like any contract that we are doing with automotive manufacturers, there is a YOY clause, year-on-year reduction. Well, as an engineer, we never understood that. How can we keep on offering every year 5% reduction? But then, last 32 years of my experience, I have been involved in that kind of an ecosystem where we have been able to offer. Which means what? We are improving on something else to offer that. People will put down economic terms that inflation itself is 6 to 9%. How can we come down by 5%? But then ways and means are evolved, and today, a common middle class person can afford a passenger car. How he is doing that? Earlier, I remember in my third year of engineering, I could buy first my bicycle. Till such time, we used to walk or we used to take bus or something like that. But today, I think in colleges at 11th standard itself, somebody has a key to his motorbike or something like that. So all these things have got to be understood. But yes, we cannot take responsibility for all these things. We have to take responsibility as manufacturers on certain things, that we do production as per the guidelines or as per the best efficiencies which are there in the marketplace or around globally available. And that is where the topic which I am touching today, that embracing Industry 5.0, pioneering the future of innovation, which is going to really take us to a level which will be absolutely a level playing field for most of our manufacturers compared to all the other global manufacturers. And once we achieve these kind of manufacturing standards, I think on quality we have already attained quite good IATF or QS or whatever, those standards are there. I think most of us qualify on that. But then on manufacturing, also on the generations part of it, from 4.0, we have to get into 5.0. What is 5.0? From first generation to fourth generation, we started eliminating human interference. And on Industry 4.0, virtually, we talked about cyber-physical machines talking to machines. And then we realized we are stuck with creativity, innovation, and intuition, which comes only from humans. So a process which is designed by human or a tool which is designed by humans cannot become a reason for replacement of a human being. That is a basic philosophy as far as Industry 5.0 is concerned. So we have covered a complete full circle. That we started with the manual thing, we went into a complete mechanized, automated world, and then again, we are introducing that manual thing into the system. That's how the complete ecosystem is complete. So let me just run through a couple of notes which I have prepared on that with this little background so that the context is understood very well. Industry 4.0 was marked by the integration of digital technologies, automation, and the Internet of Things into our manufacturing processes. Today, we stand on the cusp of Industry 5.0, although not many people are talking about Industry 5.0, because whenever I'm sitting with some people, they say that, look here, guys, we haven't matured as far as 4.0 is concerned. Where is the question of talking 5.0? It's the same way when we were at Euro 4, we were thinking of going to Euro 5, and then we leapfrogged directly to Euro 6, we avoided Euro 5. Is the same way this manufacturing is going to come, because we have to work in a real-time situation. By the time you master your Industry 4.0, world would have gone to 6.0, who knows? So we have to be keeping pace with that. So today's requirement has jumped from 4.0 to 5.0 very quickly. 4.0 did not get enough time to mature. So we may have to leave it half matured and then get into 5.0. Today we stand on the cusp of Industry 5.0, a paradigm shift that goes beyond the mere digitization of production process and instead focuses on integration of humans and machines in collaborative and symbiotic relationship, which is what I said, that without humans, we designed that entire system, how can we be replaced? So basic fundamental hypothesis is to be questioned, and that's where I personally feel most of the people who have invented all these techniques, they realized it. Okay, that how could we just walked out of that system which we created? And this has deficiencies in following manners, which we'll just run through them. In Industry 5.0, the human touch and creativity are not just valued, they are indispensable. As we embark on this journey of innovation, we must recognize that technology should be a tool that empowers us, not a force that replaces us. The point which I have been highlighting again and again, meaning I am the creator and nobody can wash me out. It's not an ego issue, but it's a decision making or it's a strategy by which we excel. Why an interference is required? Because that will ultimately improve the system. Not because I'm egoistic that how can I go out, nothing like that. It is about fostering a harmonious coexistence between man and machine. Like we always use this word that we have to coexist in COVID times, that we have to learn to coexist with the disease and work, both together. In the same manner, what we are saying is that harmonious coexistence between man and machine has got to be there. The essence of Industry 5.0 lies in the convergence of cutting-edge technologies such as AI, artificial intelligence, robotics, augmented reality, with the unique qualities of human intuition, which is what I am saying again and again, creativity and adaptability. The machines want program, they don't adapt. But human brain certainly can adapt on real-time basis with the happenings around us, because things keep happening and we cannot forecast everything and program it accordingly. Of course, we can perfect it, but we cannot be 100% there. It is about leveraging the strengths of both worlds to create solutions that are not only efficient, but also sustainable and humane. Again, this sustainable word is being tossed around many times by many people, and I think we haven't done much on that, but then there is a need to even look at it. This paradigm shift is not without its challenges. When we say that we have to resort to a technology, we have to create an interface and go into that, it is not very easy. It demands a re-evaluation of our educational system. So I'm going down to the basic first principle, is that if at all I have to induct all these things, I have to have resources. Those resources will come from where? They will come from academic institutions or the educational system. Workforce skills. There are already some number of workforces which are available with us, and the organization structures. As leaders in our respective fields, it is our responsibility to guide this transition thoughtfully and inclusively. I cannot say that I have instituted a new technology, a new system, so those many people go away. No. We have to be an inclusive society, especially in India. We are more socially oriented. So we cannot create an automation by which 600 million people will go out of job. There will be chaos, governments will fall. That is not something which we have to aim at. We must invest in reskilling and upskilling. Reskilling for the people who do not have it, and upskilling for the people who are at a certain level, raise them up to a level where we could use them, our workforce, ensuring that no one is left behind in this technological revolution. Mind you, this is very, very important. The moment you start talking about something which will eliminate something, the proposal doesn't go forward. Because there are other responsibilities. Fine, we are a profit center. We are supposed to make profit when we are in business, but we also have a social responsibility. If I have 3,000 people working in a plant, I cannot just say tomorrow that I'm implementing, like today people have been talking, that we introduce ChatGPT or AI into this and then we'll dispense off with 1,000 people. That is not going to happen. Because this question is posed to me several places in several events, is that tomorrow AI's induction, how many people will remain? I said, no, everyone will remain. as they are. Last 30 years, we have seen evolution of technology, but not many people have been unemployed only because of induction of technology. Yes, the reason for unemployment have been several. We will have to evaluate them with respect to those many reasoning there. Because of technology, people have become unemployed. There are very, very few cases on that. Furthermore, Industry 5.0 presents unparalleled opportunities for innovation, entrepreneurship and economic growth, which is what we are aiming at. Today, everyone talks about innovations, everyone talks about economic growth. We are trying to reach a particular world order, third place or something like that. And in that, if we don't fall in line, then we will not be able to get into that. By embracing this evolution, we position ourselves at the forefront of new industrial revolution that promises to enhance productivity, optimize resource utilization, and create a more connected and resilient world. Ultimately, we are taking into account every element which is there in that ecosystem and trying to bring them up, not only one technological input because of which something will rise. Along with that, we have to make others also rise, then only we will sustain. We always say like that. If at all we have to have a structure, we have to have a pyramid structure. We always say, we cannot sustain unless we have that kind of a structure. And therefore, it has to be an inclusive word, meaning a couple of words which I have used, I think they should really tell you everything about it. So in conclusion, let us approach Industry 5.0 with a spirit of collaboration and open-mindedness. Just because I'm egoistic about technology, I should not go ahead and do that. We have to evaluate. There could be some industries who may not be ready to accept that. There could be some systems or there could be some products or services. They may not fall under the domain of Industry 5.0. Let us not be insistent upon doing that. There could be other means of doing it. Together, we can harness the potential of technology to address global challenges, drive economic progress, and improve the quality of life for people around the world. As we navigate this uncharted territory, let us be guided by the principles of ethics, sustainability, and inclusivity. I'm coming back to these three words again and again, because most of the times, the failures of technology have happened because either of these three things have been neglected. We cannot take only one stand. We have to take a complete inclusive and a complete ecosystem as a problem and then develop that. Thank you for your attention. I hope I was able to convey 2 cents from my side. If you have any questions, I would be glad to answer them. Can I take them?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, please. I know Shrikant.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you so much. It's really an eye-opener on a few points. I mean, we have been discussing stuff. When you say we have to have a collaborative approach, I just have a small curiosity, which probably we discussed in our last interactions also on different platforms and forums. It's that the entire automotive ecosystem is huge. Now, if we fragment it sector-wise or industry-wise, there are many setups that are lying idle. And instead of coming together, doing something, identifying they are running at what capacity, what is the spare capacity, and how we can leverage their potential to the overall requirements of the automotive market. What I have been seeing in my experience last 18 plus years, particularly electronics industry, is people come up with new plants, new setups, new lines, and the older ones, either they keep on lying idle or they have to be disposed of. So I think somewhere, is it not a need that we come together and make a consortium, identify such, at least we could start with our Western region, because we are automotive prone. So that is just my question. Should we be doing that, or the way we are going ahead already, putting up new lines and then setting up new spaces instead of leveraging the existing ones.
Yeah.
Because that is going to definitely affect the overall economy of the country. This is number one. Another one, you mentioned that we will not be able to compete with China, but then you also said that we are improvising, we are taking it up proactively. But don't you feel that the difference in the structure of the government plays a major and important role there?
Yeah. Okay, fine. I'll answer your second question first because that's quite easy. You may sit down. Yeah. China was a socialist government. So if the president says, look here, you look there. As simple as that. If you have traveled in Shanghai, from Shanghai airport to reaching my particular hotel, I never had any bends. The road was straight, 40 kilometers. Why that could happen? Because there are no NGOs or there are no environmentalists who will come and oppose. Because nobody can oppose the government. If they oppose, they know what will happen. So if the road has to be straight, it goes straight. So that was the kind of a culture in which China really got developed themselves. Of course, whether that is right policy or wrong is something else. Because they don't carry the thread or the fragment of democracy with them. They are more of a dictators there. But then the governments or the countries don't run on dictatorship. We believe we are the largest democracy and every decision has to be weighed out. So we have environmentalists, we have NGOs, we have so many activists through whom we have to go, and that is how we progressed the way we have progressed. But if you really see, I always compare China and India on two fronts. China is very good on high volume, low tech. Whereas India is very good on high-tech, low volume.
I agree.
You get into any of these things. If we have to really invent a diesel engine or we have to invent a compressor or things like that, we will do so very easily in India. But the Chinese, they will easily clone it and then mass produce it. They are very good in toys or they are very good in certain things. But whatever they do, they would like to do it on a mass scale because scalability is their very, very strong point. I have visited their plants, automotive plants, tier 1 for bearings. Their minimum MOQ is 1 million pieces per day.
I agree.
Now, all put together, our bearing manufacturers will not be able to produce 1 million per day in India because that requirement was not there. So please understand my preamble in which I have said that we have become global players today. Once we become global players, there is a mandate that they are looking at India as a manufacturing hub, and there is so much of a demand which has got to be catered to. So what is left for us is only to match up that capacity. And we have the talent, we have the intellect, we have the desire or inclination to do that. And now, the additional factor for the last couple of years is the government. Government is proactive. They have been taking very, very proactive decisions. They are supporting MSMEs, which is 55% of the total manufacturing GDP that does. So if we say that 25% is the contribution in GDP of manufacturing, which is going to be, of that 55% comes from MSMEs. And now for MSMEs in COVID, you have seen how many packages were declared. Because they wanted MSMEs to survive, therefore the manufacturing has to survive. So I think we have to understand that any of such things which have gone to a particular level, to achieve that particular level, we will take time. That is where I said we might do it in 5 years, or we might be able to do it 10 years, but we are going to do it. We are capable of doing it, and we will match every sector. Today, even the most advanced country like America could not match what China did. So forget, meaning their economies are running into 30, 40 trillion dollars, whereas we are just struggling at 3 trillion or 5 trillion. So money is not everything. It is the time, intent, and the way the entire world focused on China. So today when we are talking about China plus one strategy, anything other than China That is where the Vietnams are coming, that is where the India is coming, that is where the erstwhile East European countries are coming, that is where South Americans are coming, Mexico, Brazil and other places. When you won't imagine a country like Poland, we never heard of it. Czechoslovakia, we never heard of it. But I have visited these countries, on their manufacturing setup, they have gone up tremendously up. So
we are already better than China because we have been able to come through wherever we are despite all of these concerns.
Correct.
Thank you so
we
much.
Can do that.
I think you addressed it.
Answer your first question. Synergy has to be there. Synergy has got to be there. And synergies get built up only amongst equals as far as the technology is concerned, because it requires money. An MSME may not have the kind of money which is required to be invested the way maybe a large company can invest. That is where they set up their facilities. But I have seen today, at least, most of the major OEMs, they would like to focus on their products rather than getting into the smaller things. So they are giving it out to the MSMEs, most of the production responsibilities. What is happening at the major OEM places, I think Dr. Vidyasagar will corroborate with me, is assembly, testing, and quality this thing. But the componentry is coming from ACMA, the total setup that we have it, which is pretty large, and which is where I said that 55% of the manufacturing contribution is going to MSMEs. That means there is a synergy. Yes, there could be cases where, as I said, which could be very, very specific, which will require high capital intensive investments and things like that, where somebody may not be able to do it. But I have seen big OEMs investing money, that kind of a money in a smaller setup, and telling them okay, that I will invest in your place, you supply it to me, and then on a regular basis in ordering, they cover that investment. So these things, these models are there, of course. As you go along, as you travel with many people, you will understand that most of these people have been surviving because of the collaborations with the OEMs and then tier 1s and then the tier 2s. So most of the tier 1s and tier 2s today in the present situation are at least happy with the way the demand is coming from the OEMs, and then ultimately it is getting percolated because their capacities are also full. I have seen the tier 1s setting up 10 plants, 11 plants for Tatas in different zones, in different territories. As far as India is concerned, I think Belrise is one of them.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I hope I was able to answer.
Yeah, but I think this seems to be, I didn't realize before I asked this question to you, but this seems to be a larger and difficult question to be able to address, but you did a good job. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
For now, I'm happy.
Thank you.
Thank you.